Hey y'all, it's Bear, and today I'm here to tell you about the best books that I've read so far in 2022. I have 5 to talk about today, and there were more that might actually end up on my favorites of the year, but I decided to narrow it down to 5 just for the sake of this video. You can assume that most of them are going to be horror, because that's what I read, but I have a couple of surprises in here, I think. And these are also in no particular order, so let's just start. So earlier this year, I read an arc of The Honeys by Ryan LaSala, and I adored this. Thank you to Ryan for sending me the arc. I really appreciate it. First off, I want to say I'm very disappointed that this book got pushed back from its original May release date, but I'm so glad that I got to read it so early because that gives me more time to talk about it. So I think that the best way to describe The Honeys by Ryan LaSala based on vibes alone is like cottagecore, midsummer, dark academia, and like I said, that's based on vibes. There's no actual education in here, so I don't know that dark academia is the best descriptor, but I couldn't get that out of my head when I was reading it. In this book, we follow a gender-fluid teenager named Mars, who is from like a very upper-class elite family. They used to attend a summer camp with their sister named Caroline, but after an incident, had to stop attending the summer camp. Caroline sneaks back from the summer camp one year to try and kill Mars and then herself, and as a result of that, Mars decides to go back to the summer camp that they haven't been to in years to figure out what caused Caroline's like mental break. I really enjoyed the culty aspects of this, the good for them vibes, the kind of sleuthing around, trying to figure out all these big secrets from these people who aren't telling you anything. And I think the best way to describe this book would be like an acid trip. Not that I've ever actually been on acid before. I am a goody two-shoes. But there are scenes in this book that happen and all of these like dark, horrible, fucked up things happen, and then just immediately everyone is pretending it's okay. It was all a daydream. It was all whatever. You were taking a nap. You don't understand. Mars will frequently go through things and then forget them, or they will be the only person to remember them, and then everyone else will forget, all to figure out why their sister snapped. Their sister was also part of a group called the Honeys, who are kind of like the plastics of the camp, who actually attend the service, and they are the reason that Mars decides to attend the camp, to kind of figure out like what's the deal with these like weird culty girls who were acting kind of strange at my sister's funeral. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and I can't wait for the rest of the world to read this. I will pop the new release date on screen, but definitely go check it out. I love Ryan LaSala's books. I think they are fantastic. I love the exploration of gender fluidity in this book and how that frequently is challenged within the camp's very cis-normative standards. I also think this book is a really wonderful depiction of grief and loss, and how that doesn't just manifest itself as sadness. It manifests itself as numbness and anger and pain and rage, and I think it's fantastic. Next, number 2, this is gonna surprise no one more than me, because who am I to give a straight cis romance novel 5 stars and love it as much as I did? I'm talking about the Bromance book club by Lissa K. Adams. I can't tell you why. Well, actually, no, I can tell you why I decided to pick it up. I have been wanting to be like a romance girly for a while now. I want to get what the hype is in the genre. I did a video last year where I gave recommendations of horror books for romance readers, because I do think the genres are kind of synonymous in the fact that they are meant to evoke strong feelings, passionate feelings, intense emotions from the reader. It's just that one does it through fear and one doesn't through love. I say that horror and romance are kind of like, they're cousins. They're like very close cousins, like first cousins. But like a straight romance novel, like what? About a baseball player? We follow a baseball player for the Nashville Legends named Gavin, who is a very like famous baseball player. And he is dealing with a separation from his wife Thea after he stormed out of the house realizing that he has never given her an orgasm, and she's been faking it throughout their entire marriage. Despite the fact that they have 2 kids and they have spent years together, it never clicked that he wasn't making her come. He storms out of the room. Thea asks for a divorce, and he realizes that his life is now falling apart because this is the one person who has made him feel truly loved. And he's kind of just ruined it by overreacting instead of just like going to a sex therapist. But the rest of the men around him are not going to let this happen, because there's a secret book club that they all participate in where they read romance novels in order to fix their failing marriages and satisfy their wives. I thought this book was really fun. I love books about books, and that was very much what this was. There are cutaway scenes of Gavin reading the romance novel, and it's kind of cringy, but he takes like word for word things the romance novels say and apply them to his relationship. And he realizes eventually that like, maybe I shouldn't just copy this. Maybe I should like make this its own thing and help my wife get what she needs. I also really like the sibling relationship in this book between Thea and her sister because it's very true to life, I find. And ultimately, it was just a really, really fun time. I thought it was really fun that Gavin is kind of given this guide of this like Regency era romance, and it's like, read this and learn from it and it will help fix your relationship. And because it's a romance novel, there is a happily ever after. When reading this, I couldn't help but compare it to my favorite Taylor Swift song. Are we just surprised I'm talking about Taylor Swift when I'm discussing romance? But that's How You Get the Girl from 1989. And in the song, Taylor Swift says, like, this is the thing that you say to get the girl back whose heart you broke. This is like a guide because you fucked up. And reading this and then listening to that song on repeat just made the experience so much better. Once again, who am I to give a straight cis romance novel 5 stars? I don't know, but if you have any other romance recommendations that you think I would like based on the Bromance Book Club, I know that it's a series, but I want recommendations outside of that, let me know in the comments. Like, it's nice to read happy things whenever I'm depressed as shit right now. Number 3 on this list, we have a science fiction action superhero novel that I read in a vlog before I took my hiatus from BookTube called Tales of the Astonishing Black Spark. This is by Charlie J. Eskew, and if you want to see my reading experience while reading the book, I will link that video for you. This follows a man named Donald who is kind of stuck in his life. He's stuck in this small town in Ohio. He's watching the girl of his dreams move away and live out her dream, and he's just stuck there. But one night, walking home, a lightning strike grants him superpowers. So this is a satire novel and kind of a commentary on superhero stories, the way that they treat their black characters, and the way that superheroism operates in this version of America. I had a lot of fun reading it. I thought that Donald was a very fun character to read from and was kind of snarky and very self-aware of everything that was going on, the issues that he was facing becoming an official hero in what's this version of the Justice League, compared to how easy his white counterparts have joining the team. I just think it's wonderful, and I wish that more people would read it. I think it could be a BookTube darling if everyone would just give it a chance. It even goes as far as him trying to create like a catchphrase, with it being like, let's spark it up or something along those lines. And then all the news outlets are like, is this new superhero perpetuating the use of marijuana? There's a scene where he's in a fight with a supervillain and everyone's like, ooh, he was too violent on her. And it's a really interesting commentary on the ideology and the idealistic view that society has of superheroes, as well as how a black man would realistically fit into these situations and these different issues that he would have to unfortunately navigate. I had a lot of fun reading it. 5 out of 5 stars. Go check out my vlog if you want to see more. Okay, now we're back to the horror. These last 2 are horror, and for this next one, number 4, I have Brother by Anya Allborn, and let me tell you, if you're a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, you need to read this. I read this one pretty early on in the year, and this is one that's stuck in my head a lot. It takes place in West Virginia, and we followed this family, and they're cannibals. So basically what happens, these 2 sons in the family, one of whom is adopted and wants to leave the family because he realizes like maybe he's not comfortable with killing and eating people. They go pick up girls that the mom favors, basically. The mom has like a thing for a certain type of girl. So they go, they find the girl, they bring her back, they like all torture her, and then they cut her up and they eat her. And Michael decides that maybe he's had enough. So he meets a girl at a music store in town, and he's thinking like maybe there could be something there. But his older brother, Reb, is always just like looming on the exterior, being like, look at all that we've done for you. You're not gonna betray this family. You're no better than us. You're a piece of shit. And it just gets so dark and so graphic and so gory. Pretty much every trigger warning that you could ever need, I would say, is in this book. But I feel like it's really good for people who are looking for gore without being splatterpunk. This isn't a splatterpunk book. This isn't like overly gratuitous in its gore. It's done in a really fun slashery way, as fun as cannibals can be. So basically Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but make Leatherface like a college-age kid. It just gets so gross, and there are scenes in here that still bother me that I still think about, and I'm very glad that I picked this one up. And then finally, number 5 is Lakewood by Megan Giddings, which I read probably the earliest of the year out of all of these books, and I originally rated this a 4-star, but I have made the decision to bump it up to 5 because of the way that it's stuck with me. It's just every day I look at my bookshelf because it's directly across from my bed. And I'll just be scanning the titles and I'll see Lakewood and I'm like, that was a really fucking good book. So this follows a black millennial girl named Lena Johnson whose grandma dies, and she and her mother are left with like, they're already in debt, but now they're left with like a world of medical debt that they can never think of even starting to pay for. So Lena decides to take a job for this new kind of secret government project, and it's a government testing thing. It's a secret research program, and judging by the comp titles of The Handmaid's Tale and Henrietta Lacks, you can guess what kind of research is being conducted here. I think that Megan Giddings did such a great job of writing an atmosphere into this book that just completely sucked me in. Kind of similar to The Honeys, this book also has scenes where things happen and then characters are later like gaslit into thinking that nothing happened, and it's all done in the sake of research. See here, eugenics. My original issue with taking this book from a 4 to a 5, what stopped it from being there originally was the ending, but over time and reflection, I've decided that the ending actually works better for me, and that bumped it up to a 5. I felt like the last part of the book was kind of rushed, but I think that I can't spoil it, but I think it works in the context. I also think it's really interesting how Lena is like aware that the stuff that she's doing is not good and the stuff that is being done to her is not good, but she's gonna keep pushing because they need the money. She doesn't want her family to go in debt. She doesn't want her family to be in danger. She wants to have a life, and she just keeps it in her head that like, if I do this, then we're golden. Like, we're golden for the rest of our lives. And I also, when reading this book, viewed it as kind of a commentary on the way that the government has in the past and continues to this day to specifically target people of color, especially Black women. I just thought it was fantastic. It was such... It just pulled feelings out of me. It pulled that fear and that ick factor in a really subtle, freaky way. It's not overly gratuitous with violence or gore, but it grossed me out and it bothered me. I feel like this book is almost like clinical with its body horror. And that's a weird word to say, but I think if you've read this book, you understand where I'm coming from with that. But the subtleties in this book are just so good. And it gave me nightmares. That's hard to do. I have nightmares every night, but never really about specific books. I can only think of a handful of books that have given me nightmares. The main one is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And if I'm comparing anything to the same level of freaking me out as The Only Good Indians, then I think you should know how I feel about this book. So those are the 5 best books that I have read this year. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by liking, subscribing, sharing, etc., as well as answering the comment question of the day. Comment question of the day, I want to know the best books that you have read in the first half of 2022. And if you don't have time, you don't have the spoons, or you don't have an answer, let me know you made it all the way until the end of the video by leaving me a yellow heart or a smiley face emoticon. This video was also voted on by my patrons, so if you're interested in participating in that, information will be down below, as well as access to early videos where applicable, bonus behind the scenes content, and putting suggestions in for future video and reading ideas. As well as all of my social media links and buy links for all of these books will be linked downstairs. If you want to go check that out, that will be amazing. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful whatever it is, wherever you are, and I will see you next time with another video. Thank you for watching. Okay, cool. Bye.